There's a version of being stuck that's harder to escape than poverty. It's called the middle class trap. Because when you're truly broke, you know something has to change. The pain is obvious. The urgency is real. But when you're comfortable enough, when the bills are paid and there's a little left over, your brain stops fighting. It settles. It tells you things are fine. And that comfort is the most expensive thing most people will ever own. Today we're going to look at 7 specific mental traps that keep middle-class people exactly where they are. Not because they're lazy, not because they're unlucky, but because their own psychology is working against them. Trap number 1, the Lifestyle Inflation Reflex. Here's how it works. You get a raise. Your income goes up by $500 a month. And within 90 days, your expenses go up by $500 a month. New subscriptions, a slightly nicer car, eating out a little more. Nothing dramatic. Just a quiet, automatic expansion of your lifestyle to match your income. Behavioral economists call this hedonic adaptation. Your brain resets its baseline of normal every time your circumstances improve. And the result is that no matter how much more you earn, you never actually feel wealthier. The middle class works harder, earns more, and somehow always ends up in the same place. Not because they spend irresponsibly, but because they spend automatically. The wealthy break this reflex deliberately. They increase income and keep expenses flat. They let the gap between earning and spending grow. That gap is called wealth, and it only exists if you protect it. Trap number 2, mistaking stability for safety. The middle class has been taught that a stable job is the safest financial position. And for most of the 20th century, that was largely true. But here's what stability actually means in the modern economy. It means your entire income depends on a single decision made by someone else. One restructuring, one bad quarter, one new hire who costs less than you. Stability feels safe, but it's a single point of failure. Wealthy people don't chase stability. They build redundancy, multiple income streams, assets that generate money independent of their time. The security doesn't come from one safe source. It comes from many sources, none of which can take everything at once. Trap number 3, the Debt Normalization Loop. At some point, carrying debt became normal. A car payment, a mortgage, student loans, credit card balances that roll over month to month. And because everyone around you is in debt, because it's discussed casually, budgeted for, accepted as just part of life, your brain stops registering it as a problem. But here's what debt actually is. It's a monthly tax on your future self. Every payment you make is money that cannot be invested, saved, or used to create opportunity. The middle class doesn't struggle with debt because they're irresponsible. They struggle because debt has been normalized to the point where it feels like gravity, just a force you live with. The wealthy treat debt differently. Not all debt. They understand the difference between debt that builds assets and debt that funds consumption. But consumer debt, the kind that finances a lifestyle you haven't yet earned, they treat it like a slow leak in the hull of a ship, small enough to ignore, dangerous enough to sink you. Trap number 4, the appearance of wealth over the reality of it. There is an enormous psychological pressure in the middle class to look successful. The right neighborhood, the right car, the right clothes, the right vacation photos. And this pressure is not accidental. It's manufactured by advertising, by social media, by a culture that judges financial worth by visible consumption. The result? Middle-class families spend enormous amounts of money signaling wealth they don't have, to impress people who are doing the same thing, with money neither of them can really afford. Meanwhile, research on actual high net worth individuals consistently shows the same pattern. They drive ordinary cars. They live in modest homes relative to their income. They are invisible because they figured out early that the goal isn't to look wealthy. The goal is to be wealthy. And those two things require completely opposite behaviors. Trap number 5. Confusing busyness with progress. The middle class works hard, genuinely, exhaustingly hard. Long hours, side jobs, overtime. But there's a difference between being busy and moving forward. And most people never stop long enough to notice which one they're doing. Working more hours in a system that doesn't reward your time proportionally isn't hustle. It's a treadmill. You move faster, you get more tired, and you end up in exactly the same place. Wealthy people think differently about time. They ask not just, how hard am I working, but what is this hour of work actually building? Is it building a skill that compounds? An asset that generates returns? A relationship that opens doors? If the answer is no, if the work is just producing a paycheck that gets spent, then busyness is just expensive exhaustion dressed up as productivity. Trap number 6, the scarcity decision tax. We talked in a previous video about how financial stress reduces cognitive capacity. But there's a specific way this plays out in middle-class financial decisions that's worth examining closely. When you're operating on a tight budget, every financial decision carries weight. Do I buy the cheaper option or the better one? Do I pay this bill now or wait? Can I afford this or not? These small decisions accumulate. They drain mental energy. And by the time a genuinely important financial decision arrives, whether to invest, whether to take a risk, whether to make a move, your decision-making capacity is already depleted. This is called decision fatigue, and it hits hardest at the income levels where the decisions matter most. Wealthy people reduce this tax by automating the small decisions, fixed expenses, automatic investments, predetermined spending categories. Not because they're more disciplined, but because they've designed a system that requires less discipline to maintain. Trap number 7, waiting for permission. This is the deepest trap, and the hardest to see from the inside. The middle class has been conditioned to wait. Wait until you have enough saved. Wait until the economy improves. Wait until you have more experience, more credentials, more certainty. And underneath all of that, waiting is a belief that someone, somewhere, will eventually tell you that you're ready, that the risk is acceptable, that it's your turn. But that permission never comes, because nobody is coming to give it. The wealthy don't wait for permission, not because they're reckless, but because they've internalized a different relationship with uncertainty. They understand that perfect conditions don't exist. That readiness is built by doing, not by preparing to do. Every year you wait for the right moment is a year of compounding you will never get back. Not just financial compounding, skill compounding, network compounding, experience compounding. The middle-class trap isn't really about money. It's about a set of beliefs, about safety, about timing, about what's possible for someone like you, that were installed before you were old enough to question them. And the way out isn't to work harder inside the trap. It's to see the trap clearly enough to stop cooperating with it. 7 mental traps, each one invisible from the inside, each one designed by habit, by culture, by the financial systems that benefit from your staying put, to feel completely normal. But normal isn't the same as inevitable. If even one of these landed differently for you today, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because we're just getting started pulling back the curtain on the psychology of wealth.